pro player for Fnatic. He was a bit of a monster in his time, so he could have some fun here. But we'll see how much he's been able to put into this, because we are into it. And look how gorgeous this looks already. You can see this huge environment, and this map is not small.
This is only just a part of it, and you know, that looked fairly big already. So here we go, with tanks rolling into the battle, and in the background there you can already see some of the capture points. At the top of the screen you can see there are 7 on this map.
So actually, in case people are new to Battlefield as a whole, maybe they haven't played the previous iterations and they're just watching this to see what's going on here, we'll jump into the content soon enough. Explain to us how this game mode works so people know what to be looking for here, Westy.
Okay, so Conquest is your bread and butter for Battlefield. It's like the original game mode. And, you know, you're fighting for control of the whole map. You've got various things that you need to be looking for, different capture points all over the map. And here already, as you can see, we are on board with Level Cap, and something that I think he's been doing quite a lot recently is playing with the Flame Trooper. Now, unfortunately, it's switched away, but hopefully we can go back to that in a minute.
Yeah, we can definitely check that out. The horses are out now. We're going to have 3 games of this, so don't worry. We'll get to break down this content for you.
Yep,
and maybe all that Johnny Cash has inspired the Ring of Fire. You know what I mean? It all comes out now. We're going to see it going on. But yeah, this is the horse gameplay that we were looking for. Again, though, you're not going to get away with it. You can't just charge at 2 people and hope for the best. You will be taken down. It looked like the horse may have survived that, but the rider certainly didn't.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. It's the horse is very similar to other sort of open vehicles where you can die, but your vehicle, or horse in this case, may survive, because the horse has a higher health level than you do.
So let's take ourselves through this map as well. What have we seen so far? It looks as though we've got kind of an...
Nice takedown.
What we're looking at so far is some sick sniping. All right, but coming back to the point, it looks like we've got a nice little area for what may be more infantry-based battling, and you've got this huge landscape as well. There's quite a lot going on here. If
you imagine sort of like an oval shape to this map, at the top of the oval you've got an infantry section. It's almost like a little village, and we're in it now looking at some close quarters gameplay. And this really is sort of your destructible environment of the map. And there's a lot. In fact, I think there are 3 capture points on Conquest in this zone alone. So they are very close together, but they all vary a little bit. As you saw there, there's a capture point around the flag or the antenna. That there is a little bit more open, and then some of the capture points are further into these buildings, and obviously that creates even more close quarters gameplay. And then you go beyond that, and then you've got some of the capture points that are spread further around the edges of the map, and then you have one lone capture point right in the middle of the desert, in between all of the sand dunes. And that's one that's definitely going to be fought over with all the tanks and all of the biplanes flying over.
And I'm loving the diversity of weaponry we're seeing so far. Already, you've seen the shotgun coming through, clearing out that close range where in that infantry sort of area where they really flourish, you get to punish. And it looks like we're on board with Sinai. This is not prop hunt, I can tell you that right now. So you've got to get into the battlefield and do some work. So he's going to be going for it, going with the charge here, but you can see the punish come out from the others. Already set up very well with his gorgeous rifles. Going to nick the horse and go for a ride. Why not?
Go for it.
It's up for grabs.
You may as well take it if you can. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to get away there, but you know, that was a valiant effort. I think he deserves some credit there. Always going for the anti-tank line on the horse. That was an interesting way to try and take that one down.
And so far, the horses look really good here. They look like they work with the map. They don't seem to be clunky or just out of place. They seem to be really having a purpose. However, the riders, on the other hand, are being punished. The plane crashes. This environment is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, as we take ourselves through this one, the teams are battling out hard. And actually, Westy, this is pretty close so far.
It is very close, actually. Obviously, the Ottoman Empire up there on the right have taken a 5-point lead or so. And actually, we'll talk about the point system here, because that goes back to the Conquest game mode. It's slightly changed in Battlefield 1. There's no ticket bleed anymore. You might remember in previous games, if you killed a player, the score would change. Yep. And the way that the scoring has changed as well. It no longer counts down to 0, it counts up to a top value. And to remove the ticket bleed puts further emphasis on all of those capture points. You have to capture the flags in order to gain points for your team.
And I think that's such an intrinsic thing with Battlefield, though. You play for the team, you play for the objective. You can't just win on your own. You have to be as one, and focusing on taking those points down is part of the plan, and taking yourself towards the caps here. And actually, let's talk through that there, because we saw the bayonet charge coming out. Now, I know some people know this, some don't. Again, you know, new viewers coming through. may not realize that maybe that's not always the best idea to take yourself further into it, because maybe sprinting works out better. Can you take us through a little bit of that mechanics? I know you know about it.
Yes, I do. So the bayonet charge mechanic, obviously it's intended to take down a player. You charge straight into them with a very sharp object.
The point,
but it can be used in another way, and a lot of people have started using it to very quickly get themselves out of a sticky situation. Maybe they're caught in a crossfire, they don't want to be there, or there's a player in front of them, they're not ready to go. They turn around and they bayonet charge out of the way because you sprint so much faster. However, though, after that sprint, you can only walk, because obviously you've just gone for a fairly serious sprint. And you can't sprint normally after that point, and that can sometimes leave you very vulnerable.
Well, we're going to be seeing that up-close action here. The melee comes out, an absolute takedown comes in. That was lovely to watch. However, the tanks are doing the major work. I think that's actually X Factor in one of those, driving around, doing everything they can. But there are counters to this. Now, maybe new players say they're going, well, how do you deal with a tank? You know, I'm just a man, but there are ways to get around this, isn't there?
100%. I mean, there are specific classes that are actually built to deal with that. And in this game, you're looking at the Assault. And something that you might notice that you might not have seen before in previous trailers or gameplay from the Alpha is that the Assault players now have access to explosives. A bit like what you might call C4, but obviously a World War I version of that. So it's more like a dynamite stick. And that's something that you're likely going to see in the gameplay today. Very up close and personal, though. You have to get close to the tank to be able to get near enough to throw the dynamite. It doesn't stick like modern explosives do, so you have to be very close and sort of catch the tank unawares.
Yeah, and Stone Mountain trying to hold on here. The rest of his team was almost wiped at that point. His squad was in dire straits, so he's going to try and do what he can on the objective almost here, near that train station. Try and keep this one under wraps. You're going to see, actually, at the moment, it's the British Empire taking a strong lead, at least for now. The tickets don't reflect that just yet. And, oh, here we go. The train has been deployed. The hype train's about to come into the station here, Westy.
Yes, this is actually a really interesting bit, because even though it's a behemoth, and yes, it's designed to change the game, it really depends on how you use it. If you don't use it correctly, then you could actually leave yourself more vulnerable. It could go very quickly indeed, and then you've lost your chance to sort of change the tide of the battle.
And let's go down that route, actually, because we're going to see it in action very, very soon. The point is, it doesn't really get to the capture points, does it? It only really goes by one. It has an effect on a second. It does do damage. There's no disputing that.
Here comes the train now. And yes, it is on rails for anyone else out there who wants to make a joke about that. No, it is on rails, and it features 6 different seats, plenty of cannons on the side. It's actually got an anti-air cannon as well, so it is extremely powerful, not only to ground units, but people up in the sky really do need to pay attention as well.
Now, speaking of up in the sky, though, there has to be a counter to this, as you said. There are ways to play around these behemoths, because we saw on that first map, people were kind of unsure how to deal with it the first time. Then you see that everyone coming together, taking it down and working through it. How do you deal with that train?
Well, one of the things that you can do is, as an infantry unit, obviously, as I said, the Assault player does have access to some explosives, but in my own sort of experience of looking at the games that we've seen, players in sort of planes are going to be the best ones to sort of
eyes in the sky here.
Yeah, eyes in the sky, really. You've got people in the bombers, and they're the ones who can deal a massive amount of damage. If they lay down a carpet of bombs on top of that train, they're going to do a massive amount of damage.
Well, speaking of it, you highlighted Ponyline HD as one of the players you wanted to watch for this ability. He's already eyeing up that train. He knows what he wants out of this one.
Definitely, but just so we can see here, this is a really good shot of just the scale of the map as well. It's absolutely massive. It is a huge map. You can see the objective off in the middle there. He's taking some serious damage, but he's going to come in, I think, for another strafe run if... Oh, he's going for the repair. He feels like he's safe enough to do that. But I think he's probably going to come in for another strafing run on that train.
And this is the beauty of Battlefield as well. It's not just about your infantry. It's up in the air. It's up in the skies. We're seeing those dogfights coming through. And now here comes that run again. The hit and run. Ponyline HD needs to back out of this. He's got to be careful. He is taking fire as well. They're not letting him just get away with this. And that's it.
The armored train took him out completely. Wow, that really does show the power of that train there. That's something that you do have to note, though, is that people up in the planes may be the best people to try and take this thing out, but you leave yourself extremely exposed to everything else up there as well, because you're concentrating on something on the ground, not the other plane that's now behind you shooting at you.
And also, let's bear in mind, because a lot of people get nervous about this stuff, you know, how's that going to work? Is it balanced? Is it not? Keep your eyes on the tickets. They haven't gone drastically in one favor. It's more even, the scoreboard. It's meant to be able to turn the tide of the war almost, and oh, we've got a little bit of action.
Oh, he was
Cyberwolf, and with the pistol shot, you're going to get punished there. The MP18 trench gun is going to deal with you very swiftly.
They tried to go for like a sneaky melee kill, but it didn't quite pay off. And you know what? It happens to me all the time. You try and go for it, and then the person turns around at the last minute, and of course they're the one standing there with a fully automatic weapon whilst you've got a bolt-action rifle. So, and that again is the beauty of Battlefield. It's the rock, paper, scissors mechanic. Everything has a counter. If you're going in for the melee, you better be aware that that person could turn around at any moment, and you've left yourself extremely vulnerable. Who have we got here? This is Driftor. He's taking the tank into perhaps uncharted territory, into a more infantry part of the map, but of course he's putting a lot of power behind those infantry units there.
Yeah, that's certainly going to do some great damage, but already you can still find this infantry battle going on. These buildings allow for perfect cover. The map, however, does change. The cover, it just completely removes itself throughout this battle. And again,
you can see here on the ground to the right-hand side, you can see the craters that have been formed in the ground. That could have been from a dumbfire rocket from the plane. It could have been the anti-tank grenade. There are so many things that you need to be aware of in this game, and terrain deformation is one of them. Suddenly, you might be able to use that as cover, but on other occasions, and most likely that cover has just been taken away. Yeah, it's interesting to note that that train was still going at that point, because the match has moved on a fair bit, but the train was still there, plucking away.
And look at where the flags have been capped here. Let's keep that in mind. Only 2 are secure, 1 for each team. So at the moment, it's actually fairly even. Both teams going for different objectives, both running at the same time. You are seeing the covering fire coming down, the suppression coming into the place. That flag is so contested right now. They're doing whatever they can. And at that sort of range, you're not going to have the best of luck with that sort of weaponry. And well, you're not going to have much more luck if you do that.
That says accident. I'm not sure what happened there.
A little backflip. It didn't go well.
We're still running in favour of the Ottoman Empire here, but the gap is only 10 points. And as I said, kills don't count towards that score anymore. So there is a lot of frantic toing and froing around these flags, but now you can see that the British Empire now have control of, I think...
That's a 4 lockdown at least.
That's a 6 lockdown now.
It's about to be. It's
about to be 6 lockdown. And as you can see, the British Empire catching straight back up now, reducing their lead. And this is really where Battlefield can completely change in just the blink of an eye.
And at the moment, the Ottoman Empire only clinging on to 1 point. That is not what you're going to be seeing. And actually, let's talk a little bit about this sniper rifle as well. Let's talk about what we're seeing here, because you see people talking about zeroing, which you didn't necessarily see in that one, but bullet drop's a thing in this. It's not just your out of the box kind of easy shooter. This is tough work. Yeah, you've got the bullets that you fire do actually travel across the map. They take time to reach the enemy that you're firing at. You've got bullet drop and bullet drag as well. For people who don't know what bullet drag is, that's where... Oh, look at that for a roadkill. That was fantastic. That was actually either a really good bit of skill or something extremely lucky. Either way, it was a cool bit of footage. Look, no luck, just skill, 1 shot, 1 kill. All right, that's what I cling to, and I will always stick to that, Don't be a naysayer, or I'll have to bring out the horse puns, okay? But we are seeing still this back and forth going on. At the moment, the British Empire have turned it round towards more of their favour. However, the clock is running out here. We're down to 1 minute, actually under that. These are the final closing moments. If the Ottoman Empire doesn't come back into this, they could be done for. Well, looking at it now, I'd find it extremely unlikely if the Ottoman Empire really managed to pull anything back at this stage. Only 45 seconds to go. They have taken back a couple of points, but they appear to be losing them just as quickly as they're taking them. Perhaps the players on the map, their distribution isn't great at the end of the round. Maybe they're just frantically trying to capture whatever they can. And that's part of Battlefield. It forces you to change what you're doing. Suddenly you've got to focus on something different. I mean, there are 64 players playing here, so there's always something different that's going to happen. All right. And Azel, what have you got here? He's capturing, at least. Yeah, he is capturing. He's actually doing some damage. He's trying to take out the... trying to take out one of the planes, but we are coming very close to the end of the round now. Just 10 seconds to go. And that's a nice way to finish the round, I think. A good overview of the map and our first round of Battlefield 1 on the desert. There it is, ladies and gents. What a way to close it out. A brilliant first impression here of this gameplay on this new environment that we hadn't really seen tested out.